Being pro-life sees the importance of a child at every stage of his or her development, including those challenging years of transitioning from childhood to adulthood. Having positive role models during this time of life is a great blessing and one that can shape us for years to come. Kim Kiel, Mia Dempsey, and Bryan Pennington are stellar examples of mentors who have taken up this challenge. They join us for this episode of The Intersection of Faith and Maine to share insights on how they have done this. I think you'll be encouraged by their work in helping to guide young men and women as they grow in their service to the Lord.
It's where Christianity and culture meet. This is The Intersection of Faith and Maine. Now, here's Greg Chandler.
So Bryan and Kim and Mia, welcome to the Intersection of Faith and Maine. Appreciate you joining us for this episode. And just to kind of let everybody know who you are, you're all members at the Gooch Lane Church there in Madison. And why don't you just tell everybody how long you've been a member there?
So I have been a member since 1989, I think, 88 or 89. So as long as I've been living in this area, so we've really enjoyed it. My husband and I, and we have 2 children, and they've grown up here and love it. And so, Kim?
I've been a member since 1991, I believe. I married my husband, Greg, in 1990 and was baptized the next year. So Gooch Lane's the only place I've been. So we have 3 children. They're grown, married, and so we love this area. We love this church family. So it's all we've ever known.
All right, I'm the newbie compared to you two. We've been, my wife and I have been at Gooch for about 7 years. I have 2 daughters. I have a grown daughter that's 22 and another one that's 15. And so, yeah, we've been real happy over our time here. Our girls have grown up, and of course, my youngest is getting to enjoy the high school group during, here at Gooch as well. So.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming today because I wanted to share with everybody the work that you've done with helping our teens at Gooch Lane. So 2 different programs that'll overlap a little bit as we discuss them, but let's start out with the Salt Shakers. Which is kind of an unusual name. Maybe we want to explain that just a little bit, but this is a group that is primarily focusing in on middle school girls. So, Mia, you want to take the lead and just kind of say where the name came from, and then Kim, maybe you can help fill in some of the details with your outlook on what you like for this group to do.
Sure. Actually, I'll kind of start with how the group got started. A lady in our congregation, a young lady that was not married, had been getting the group together, 6th through 8th grade girls, in her home once a month. And she was about to get married and move away. And so she asked me and another lady. At that time, my daughter was very young, and I was about to have another child. And then the other lady had grown children. So the 2 of us, she asked us to take the group over. And that was in early 2006. And we realized quickly that we needed to have like some form to the group and a plan. So we developed an original plan of study, a program of study, and tried to develop a name. And a Christian out of, I believe it was Kentucky, had been meeting with a group called them the Salt Shakers, based on Matthew 5:13, and where we're told to be the salt of the earth. So we are trying to encourage the girls to be the salt of the earth and to do what salt does, basically flavor and preserve the good things, and to flavor and enhance those things around them. So that's kind of where the name came from. We borrowed it with her permission, and I've been, using it ever since. So,
yeah, that's very interesting. And so, Kim, just kind of the goals for the group in a nutshell. I know you've both of you have had daughters. Actually, all three of you have had daughters to go through the salt shakers. And so we may come back to that a little bit later, but just as kind of an organizer of it, what are some of the goals and hopes you have for the girls?
In Titus 2, the older women are commanded to instruct and teach the younger women. So Mia and I, we feel like this is a great opportunity for us to fulfill that commandment. We also ask other older ladies from the congregation on occasion to come in as guest speakers, so it allows them that opportunity as well. The group, it allows the girls to build friendships, to, these relationships, we want them to become stronger, so when they have difficulties, they'll have each other maybe to lean on and to carry these lessons with them through high school, college. And just like you said, our daughters, they still have these friendships through all the different seasons of life. It gives the opportunity to the girls to be together. And
Because most of them don't have, they don't go to school.
they don't go to school together, yeah. So and in the end, we're wanting them to learn to serve God no matter what their situation is.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it helps them because at that age, you can get so cliquey if you're not careful and you go with your school friends, but yet you want these Christian friendships to develop too. So I think that's really important.
Right.
And so, Bryan, about 2 years ago, you and I realized we were having the same thoughts but hadn't shared them with each other. And I don't remember how we actually figured it out, but thought maybe we need to have the young men version of the salt shaker. So why don't you just talk a little bit about how that came about and the name too?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, as you said, I think we're several of us that had kind of observed what was going on with our high school boys at the time. We had some younger high school boys that had recently been baptized. And, we just kind of saw the need for them to have an opportunity and an outlet to be developed for service. And I know that, there were several things. I remember you and I talking over a Bojangles biscuit one morning, and, we talked about the different types of service that they could be used in and they need to develop their skills in. I'm also responsible for the Young Men Service, which is a service we do here at Gooch every year, where we let our younger men who are baptized lead the worship service. And we really needed to prepare these guys for that. And simple things, public reading when they read the scripture, leading, song leading, giving short talks, and being able to put, get up in front of people and speak and do that confidently. So, yeah, those were some of the fundamentals. And then, of course, other types of service as well, just serving each other, serving our congregation, providing for those that are in need in various ways that they can. So.
Yeah, and I think that's really come out strongly. Kim, your sons had already got to adulthood by the time the lower light started, but Mia, your son will be graduating this year and was one of the founding members of it. So have you seen some positives in him from this program?
Absolutely. I mean, he seems more willing to jump in and participate, and he has had a lot more opportunities to participate in services like, scripture reading, doing a talk, leading, singing some, and then, although not his favorite thing, he will, but he also seems to take, as he's grown, he feels, I think, more of a sense of leadership toward the younger men. So I think that's something we really see in the salt shakers as well, is like the times that they've been in the program, they just sort of develop that leadership in just small ways, not that it has to be some.
And confidence.
Yeah, confidence. And so I've seen that in him as well. And we see that in the girls.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bryan, let me kind of turn it around. You've had a daughter go through the salt shakers. What positives have you seen?
Yeah, everything that me and Kim talked about, I've seen from their perspective. They enjoy spending time with the other girls. They enjoyed one of the, I think was the favorite things they did every year, and they still do, is they provide a dinner for our elders and their wives. And everything from the decoration to the cooking to the, cleanup, the girls do themselves. And I know they were excited about that opportunity. So those were all, really good experiences for them to have.
Yeah, so one thing that the group share in common is you certainly want to deal with the more of the public kind of thing. We talked about with the young men, the song leading, speaking, prayers. Young women, I think they've have some work in teaching classes and such as that. But one thing that I've really liked about the groups is that it gets them kind of one-to-one with some of our members. And it's kind of been this service idea of, here are some members, they have these needs, or here's a way that you can help them. And so I'd like to hear from you on that. You don't have to call any specific names, but maybe over the course of the history of these two groups, some times where they've gone in and they've helped members with maybe a home project or something of that nature. So, Bryan, maybe you can kick that off, and then we'll let Kim and Mia add what the Salt Shakers have done.
Yeah, the first one that comes to mind, I know you're familiar with it, is we had one of our younger men. He wasn't one of the older of the group. He got the opportunity to help one of our older gentlemen in the congregation install a hot water heater. He called one of our deacons and said they needed help, and they ran over, and it was one of the lower lights guys who got in there and did the plumbing work, obviously with some instruction, but he was able to do that for him. And I know that particular young man was really proud of the fact that he was able to help him in that moment. They've done all kinds of things. We did a project where we built some little lights, the lower lights. We built some little lights, little lighthouses, and the boys did that together. And then they gave them to some of the widows of our congregation. And I heard some really good stories of that as exchanges, just like you said, that they had with those ladies. They were so appreciative and cherished that moment just to, deliver those lighthouses to those ladies. I think the boys will always remember that.
Yeah, I remember that, and how many of those ladies were just so thankful, not only for the gift, but more for the boys spending some time talking to them. Yeah, it's very good. So, Kim, Mia, what would you say about the Salt Shakers of some similar kinds of things?
So I think I would have to say, our first year of curriculum is serving through acts of service. So things like preparing food for someone in need, like someone who's just had a baby or someone that's had surgery. So the girls get together, they prepare the food, and then we deliver the food to the person, meet with them and visit with them and drop it off. And so that's really good. And then we've also done babysitting for young couples that, maybe need a break. They have young children at home. That's been a great service, and that, is something that the girls can do. They can do, on their own time as well. But we try to encourage them to learn how to do that, and then in a supervised situation, they can learn, the hands-on. So that, and then we have a lesson where we talk about sending cards and who you can send cards to, and then you want to tell about the flowers? Yeah.
Gift baskets for our teachers. And then sometimes they sit in and help be an extra set of hands for some of the younger Bible classes. We try to remember to acknowledge the widows, especially around special times like Valentine's Day, things like that. So they're very involved with making contact with the widows or whoever it might be. So we're hopeful that these lessons they'll remember as they grow, and can always remember to serve in ways like that.
Yeah, I think all of those things are so good, and I know some of the young ladies you mentioned going into the Bible classes, how much they enjoy that, and I think that's such a good experience for them to get to see, first of all, someone who's skilled at teaching, being able to learn that way, but also to learn that service also. I want to go back to something that you mentioned earlier. Both groups have made a point to have different speakers come in, and you might share some of the different avenues that you try to explore with these speakers. So maybe, Bryan, you could talk a little bit about some of the speakers the Lower Lights have had, and then Kim and Mia, some of the ones that you like for the Salt Shakers to hear also.
Yeah, last year we recognized we had 4 of our guys that were making career decisions. They're getting ready to graduate this year. and they were having to make decisions about which colleges they would go to, what kind of degrees they would get. So we invited some of the men from the congregation to come in from different career fields to just talk to them about their careers, about their degrees, how that matched up with their spiritual lives and their faithfulness to God. And so it was really rewarding for the guy. I think that all the boys really enjoyed that, learned a lot. We had, different avenues, different careers, medical, legal, business. Again, they really were able to ask a lot of questions and really understand, where those folks had come through in their career. So I thought that was rewarding for them. Those were good experiences for them.
Yeah, I agree. And them talking about how it impacts them spiritually, I think was so helpful. Just the pros and the cons of these careers. Kim, Mia, what kind of speakers do you invite in?
We periodically ask a mother of a large family who has, 2 or 3 kids to come in and talk to the girls and just what it's like having a larger family. We also ask the wives of elders and our preacher's wife to come in and talk to them what it might be like to be married to an elder and just the different parts of life and what they have to deal with being in that role.
Widows, what it's like to be a widow and a single working woman. We've had college students come in, actually had some of our former salt shakers come in, and we've had one year we had like high school girls come in because there are challenges, facing the girls soon to be faced. We've had people with chronic health conditions come in.
Or a family member who has an illness.
So people that, maybe find themselves in lots of different situations and they still find ways to serve God. And it's going to vary based on what their circumstance limits them to do. And then, but they still find a way. And so we want to make the point that no matter what you face, you're going to need to find a way to serve God. And so it does give them the opportunity to meet a lot of ladies in the congregation they would really not have a lot of contact with. So,
and it makes an impression on us. I mean, we just like Bryan was saying, we get as much, if not more, probably out of the lessons, just hearing just the wealth of knowledge that we have here in our congregation.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And for these girls in particular and the guys, it gives them this support network. And this season in the podcast, we're talking about pro-life. And this is something I think fits into that category because you're helping young people to move ahead in life and giving them all of these resources. So one question before we end our time in the interview, I'd like to ask you. So if someone's listening to this and they're saying, boy, we need something like that with our kids, or I have this opportunity with these teens to help with. Sometimes when you're wanting to do something, it's hard to get it rolling. So what advice would you give? So, maybe here's a Christian couple and they say, we want to start this, or, here's 2 ladies in a congregation. They say, we want to start this. What would you tell them as far as practical experience would speak?
So first, I would say probably find a good partner, whether it's your husband or your best friend or in my case, when we started the group, it was a lady with grown children, and then I had the young children, so it kind of gave us 2 perspectives, and it also we shared the load. So that's find a good person that you can depend on to share it with and to share the responsibility with. And then also, talk to the elders in your congregation if you have them. Get their input or guidance or support. If nothing else, that has been, great to feel the support from them. And then sharing the information with the congregation so they know what's going on. And then we have shared this curriculum with a lot of people. A lot of people have asked for it. Former salt shakers have asked for it. Just ladies in other congregations who've heard about it, and they've started groups of salt shakers in other cities. And we're happy to share that with them. Whether they want to use it exactly like we've used it, is obviously up to them, but we're happy to share that. We're also happy to share our experiences and practical advice, like here's how we do it. Sunday afternoons, right after church, we all ride together. Order pizza's the best thing, those kinds of practical pieces of information. But
and we change it
year
to year to whatever fits the group best.
So those are some good pieces of advice, though. So
I would agree with all that. We had the same experiences, and yeah, I wouldn't be able to do it if I didn't have like somebody like yourself helping us, Greg, or even some of the other dads that have helped out over the time. So that's having good support is always good. But I would also add, just listen to the kids, listen to them, give them an opportunity to voice what they feel like they need or would like to do. The career thing was one of the things I think the boys really expressed interest in, and that set us off on a path that led to something really good. So yeah, I would say ask the kids. It doesn't have to be, if you're thinking about doing it, it doesn't have to be this terribly structured or real formal thing. Just get the kids together, give them the opportunity to spend time with one another, and then pay attention and listen to what they're talking about, and they'll let you know what they need. You'll see that pretty clearly, and you can then work around that.
Yeah, and I think that's so important in developing the relationship, that they've got someone considered trustworthy to say, this is what we need at this particular time in life. So all of those are excellent suggestions, and I know that there will be people who will be interested in getting that information. So as we close off, I want to ask you a question, and it may be you say, I got nothing, and that's okay if that's the case. So as you've done this, and this will apply more to the salt shakers than the lower lights because it's been around a lot shorter time, but have you ever had one of the kids come back as an adult and say how helpful it was to give you maybe some perspective or feedback, not just immediately after finishing, but years down the road?
Oh, absolutely. And that's very, very, it makes you feel really good that you've helped someone like that and that it's meant a lot. We have had one of the previous salt shakers, she was an early, I want to say she was one of the first few groups, I think. And she has requested the material and is hoping to start a group herself. She has 2 small children now. We've watched her go through, the from junior high up to married life with several children, or a couple of children rather. And so she's asked for another salt shaker who had been away for a while, is now back in our congregation. She had shared it with the congregation in another state. So yeah, definitely we've had people who it's meant a lot to them and that they want to share it and, encourage others to experience the same thing. So it's been good.
And it's also neat, we're having relatives of the very first group of salt shakers, their nieces are coming through the program. So it's been around.
Full circle.
Yeah, full circle. So it's neat to see that also.
And to watch the girls that have been through salt shakers become involved so much, our daughters, and their friends, and just becoming very involved in the congregation here, and then also maybe away at college being involved. And so we see the fruits of the labor. So
we don't have as many alumni on the lower lights, but I could not count to you how many men have come up to me, over the last couple of years and said, I wish we had this when I was growing up. That because either the help leading in service or public speaking or just spending time with other men their age, young men their age, that they really appreciate it. So I can see how much it would have meant to so many if they'd had that opportunity.
Yeah, and I think that's so important as you get that kind of feedback and to understand that this is really good stuff that's being done. So I want to thank all 3 of you so much for giving your time today to be a part of this. You are certainly some of the warriors on the pro-life front. We don't think about that with those who help teenagers, but what an important time of life and challenging time of life. So thank you so much for your service, and thank you so much for being here with us today. That ends our podcast for today. So once again, this is Greg Chandler coming to you from the intersection of Faith and Main.
Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and visit our website at faithandmainpodcast.com.